Welcome back, everybody, to Unbashful. I am your host, Nicholas Doucette. And as always, I want to thank you for another week and another opportunity for me to sit in front of this mic and in front of this camera and talk about the things that I love. And today, I'm doing an interview with Mary Rose Amaral. Did I pronounce your last name correctly?
Amaral.
Amaral. Okay, my apologies.
Okay.
Like I said, Mary, before we started, thank you very much for taking your time to come on Unbashful. And why don't you just tell the listeners a little bit about yourself?
Sure. Well, I'm in third year at Ryerson. I'm in politics, and that's what we're going to be talking about today. Love doing community work and super happy to be here.
Thank you. Yeah, well, that actually answers my question. I was going to ask because last time I talked to Saad, he told me that you were like he went to Ryerson with you. Were you guys in the same program, or did you guys just know each other just through going to the same school?
So Saad and me and Saad were in a few of the same classes, but we're in different programs.
Right, right. Okay. And what program are you in exactly, if you don't mind me asking?
Yeah, so I'm in politics and governance at Ryerson.
Oh, okay.
Well,
Gotcha.
University, not sure what we're naming it.
Gotcha. Yeah. Cool.
um, and hoping to minor in crim. Was going to minor in French, but very
Oh,
difficult to do French online.
all right. Criminal psychology is what you're referring to.
Criminology,
Oh,
sorry.
criminology. Yeah, my bad.
Yeah.
Well, that's awesome. You seem very ambitious, and it seems like you have a lot of big goals, and I admire that. So obviously, you're going to school for politics. So I'm gonna take a leap of faith and assume that that's what you're pursuing professionally as an occupation.
Yeah, I would like to run for office eventually.
Wow.
Um,
Yeah.
I'm hoping before I'm 30, so I can be one of those young MPs that they feature as like the young MPs in the House or
Yeah.
whatever MPs. Um, yeah.
So obviously, like you want to start off in like municipal government, but do you have like big goals to sort of climb the ladder and move to like provincial and federal?
So I actually used to want to be the mayor of like the place I live in, Richmond Hill.
Gotcha.
But I kind of know more about municipal like government since then. And well, Richmond Hill government is a lot of there's a lot of corruption,
Really?
unfortunately.
Like corruption, like in like the system, or do you mean corruption in like within like the community?
Within the politicians, and
Oh,
it's
okay.
always the same ones that are winning. So
Oh,
like
okay.
to even get your foot in the door in municipal like politics in this area is super difficult just because like those seats kind of never change. There's
Hmm.
actually an election coming up and like there's like absolutely no information out about it. I don't want to vote for the people who are currently in office, but I haven't heard of the people running against them yet, so I don't know what I'm doing yet for that. But no, I actually plan to run for provincial government. So that's an MPP.
Gotcha.
Federal is MP.
Gotcha.
Um,
Yeah, see, I don't know much about this. I'm honestly, this is a learning experience for me because
mhm.
I'm someone that's not to interrupt you, but I'm someone that's not incredibly tapped in on politics. But I understand that as I'm getting older, it's definitely something that I should be prioritizing and learning about. So that's why I'm really happy to have you here.
Of course.
Yeah.
Well, if you want to have a chat anytime, would love to help you understand more
Awesome.
about politics.
Thank you.
Um, but I want to run for provincial government just because the portfolios I like much better. And you're more in touch with like the people you're actually representing. Um, and I guess I know that through volunteering and like for volunteering for candidates and whatnot. But yeah.
Yeah,
So I'm,
volunteering is probably a huge one.
oh yes.
Yeah.
Like the biggest thing in politics, you need a volunteer. That's how
Like
you
you could
beat.
obviously have the resume, but that like community work probably just is what could set you apart from the competition.
Yeah, for sure. And like through my volunteering, I actually volunteered like this past election for the like one of the candidates in my riding, and I met so many people, and like I've been able to like I guess unlock new opportunities for myself through it because I'm getting to learn more people, and I got close with the candidate I was volunteering for, and um, she asked me to be on her youth council, which is
That's
super fun.
awesome. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
I'm super excited for that. My friend's running it, who's working for her, so I'm excited and looking forward to it. But yeah, volunteering is definitely in politics, like the best thing you can do for yourself, because that's like how you meet people. And in politics, like the people you know are gonna get you far.
Yeah, that's one thing I didn't even like think about, is like the networking opportunities that come with
Mhm.
volunteering. You can meet so many people that could present different opportunities in the future.
Yeah.
So I want to ask you the next question here. So if you could sit at a round table with four people that have influenced you, they could be from any part of the world. Hell, they could even be deceased. So if you could pick four people that have an impact on your life that you would just love to just pick their brain and meet and just talk to, who would those four people be?
Um, well, I was thinking about this yesterday, and I could come up with like I guess two people, because
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
some of the people I would talk to, like I kind of already know, or planning on getting to know through politics. But definitely, so I'm more of a, so in politics, there's right and left, and there's center.
Gotcha.
So like right's conservative, like Stephen Harper or whatever, like
Yeah.
left would be like Jack Layton. So I'd consider myself more leftist than centrist or right wing. So I definitely pick Karl Marx and Thomas Sankara.
Okay. And they're out. I assume they're in the left
Yeah, they're
side.
in the
Okay.
left area. So I'm pretty sure you've heard of Karl Marx, Thomas Sankara, maybe not, but for your listeners, no, I am not a crazy person or a radical. I just agree with some of his ideas. So basically, in class, I got to read the Communist Manifesto, and that basically talks about like capitalism and how it's like naturally exploitative for like people who are working class, and works to benefit like rich people and the bourgeois class, owning the means of production, which is like the factories to get people jobs or manufacturing and whatnot. So a question I would ask him that kept on coming up in my class, because he obviously proposes like a move to communism.
Mhm.
And like we've seen that in like Russia or like China, but like it hasn't really been like, I guess, real communism. So I would definitely ask him, because he never says it, what a communist society would look like.
So you're curious to see what a communist society would look like in Canada, or am I interpreting that wrong?
In his view, because
Oh,
he
okay.
never really outlined it in his book,
Gotcha.
the Communist Manifesto. So I definitely ask him that, because I think it would, I guess, like quell a lot of debates surrounding like current societies who are socialist or communist or whatever. And the second person is Thomas Sankara. So he was the president of Burkina Faso in the 80s. So that's like a country in, I think, Africa.
Okay.
And basically like he transformed the country, because obviously there was like colonization before that, and he kind of like took over and legitimately like transformed everything to be better. And something I'm really interested is like education. That's why I want to run provincially. And I would ask him like how he did it, because what he did, he basically had like a national literacy campaign, and he was able to raise the literacy rate by, I think, like 60%, which is huge. And he was only in office for 4 years.
Yeah, that's incredible.
Yeah. So I definitely ask him like some ideas about education if I were to ever meet him. But he was assassinated, so I can't ask him that.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah.
So I was doing some research, and I was looking at your Instagram page, not to stalk or whatever, and I noticed you have a organization, or you're a part of an organization. I don't know if you're like the founder or co-founder, called Period Pop-Up in Richmond Hill. So just kind of tell me, like, what that's about, and sort of like what was your motivation behind starting that?
Yeah, so my friend Rita, so I'm not the founder of the organization, but I guess I
Right,
lead
right.
like the period pop-up in Richmond Hill. So my friend Rita started it. She's a student at McMaster. And I met her through politics, through a political event, Model Parliament. That's kind of how I got my like start in politics, really, where I was able to meet people. If anyone's listening to this, definitely do Model Parliament at Queen's Park. I got to meet, well, Doug Ford was walking by in the in the hallway, so we like stopped and took a picture with him. And there's like a picture of me and my friends. Well, we're friends now, with him, and he's just posing like. It's pretty funny. Anyways,
That's funny.
Who else did I meet? Okay, I also met, sorry, I'm getting off track, but I also
that's
met
okay. That's okay. No problem.
MPP I really like. I didn't know I really liked her before meeting her, because I met her and then found out who she was. And I actually have a placement with her for one of my classes this semester. So I'm super excited.
That's awesome.
And hoping it's in person, but Omicron. Anyways.
Yeah.
So period pop-ups. So I met Rita at this Model Parliament place, and she basically started period pop-ups to combat period poverty. So basically like people being unable to act like to have access to period products, or being unable to afford them, since menstrual equity is a right. You know, everyone should be able to.
Absolutely. That shouldn't be, there shouldn't be any limitations on that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So basically what the period pantry is like a box outside of like a place where anyone can go and pick up like pads, tampons, menstrual cups. We had menstrual cups in there before, but they're very expensive, and like just having like tampons and pads serve more people. So we decided to not put those in as much. But basically, it's like for people to take for free if they need it. For literally anyone can take it, and we go and refill the box. And we were able to do this because we applied to a grant. So for anyone listening, Rising Youth Grants, okay, you can get up to, I think, just like over $1,000 if you want to like put a project in place, and like you have to report your funding and whatnot. So like that's kind of like a great thing to do if you like it's like a great source of funding to apply for, since it's provided by the government. If you want to do any like community initiatives, yeah. And so my motivation behind starting it was that I kind of wanted to do something for my community, and just be able to help people.
So when you're putting these, is it just like one location, or I know you said you put them across town, right? Or is it just one spot?
So we have one location currently, but we're hoping to apply for funding for another one. And through politics, I met someone, and I think I could probably ask them if we could put it outside like their office or whatever. But we're definitely hoping to have another location. I can send you the location, and you can, I guess,
absolutely. Yeah.
Tell your listeners if there's any listeners in Richmond Hill of your podcast, so they can access it.
Cool. And as for like the location, because like right now I don't know where it is. Do you have it like near like a Shoppers, like an area where people would go for that, or is it like near like an office or something?
So it's actually outside a physiotherapist office right now.
Oh, okay, that's a good spot. Yeah.
So like me and my friends were emailing like a bunch of businesses. None of them got back to us, so we just decided to go in person, like basically door knocking, like, hey, can we put this outside your business or whatever? And like they were the only ones who said yes enthusiastically. As for the location, I did like research into the average income for each ward in my area, and that area that we put it in has the lowest average income. So that's why we decided to put it there. And it's also like the downtown area where there's lots of foot traffic, so people can actually access it. That was kind of our I guess like thinking behind putting it where we put it, just because Richmond Hill is not really like there's not very many people, like places that people like congregate and like walk around besides like the downtown area.
Yeah. The logistics is obviously incredibly important, and it's smart that you guys like did your research and figured out like low income areas, stuff like that. So that's great. And for my next question, so Let me see. Oh yeah. So as somebody like I said, like myself, as I mentioned, I'm not too familiar with politics. If you're speaking to somebody, well, you are speaking to somebody like me, what would be the most important aspects to immediately learn? Like if you're just jumping into the scene and you really want to get yourself started, what would be some of the first things that you should learn?
Mhm. Well, I was thinking about this yesterday, and I think it is that political participation doesn't, well, people often think that election time is the only time to like influence governments and influence decision making, but it really isn't. Um, you can join, different groups. You can join political parties, you can go protest, you can go lobby the government, you can go call your MPP. I don't suggest emailing. Um,
It would it just be like impossible to get a hold of them because like their emails
yeah,
are probably
sorry.
flooded. Yeah.
Sorry, I'm saying I don't suggest emailing just because have you seen those like petitions on like Instagram or whatever for something where it's like, oh, like we can email your MPP, like we have like a
Oh yeah,
generator.
yeah, 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 yeah.
So they don't answer those. There's just like I know people who work for
Oh
MPs
wow.
and MPPs and they literally like look at that, they're like, don't
Oh,
care.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So but like if you're emailing your MP or MPP with like a concern, they'll likely answer you. But I suggest calling if you want to, get information about anything. But elections are not the only time to participate politically, because there are ways to collectively, like, I guess, put your voice out to actually like influence government. So, for example, I worked at a music nonprofit this summer, and we were on a Zoom call, and I don't know if you know what it is, but it's called a phones app.
I do not know.
So basically, we go on the call and we discuss like demands that we have, and then we call the MP or MPP or elected representative with those demands. And the fact that you're doing it in a large group means you're getting heard
That's
and
smart.
they
Yeah.
answer you. So like there's things like that you can do in between election times that like help you, I guess, participate politically, since people think only during election time is the only time to participate. Like I used to have that view, but like politics is open to everyone, and if you say, for example, like are part of, I guess, the gig economy, right? And you don't really have any like collectively, sorry, how do I say this?
That's okay. Did you say the gay economy? Is that what you said?
No.
Oh, sorry. I kind of misunderstood you. I didn't know exactly what you said there.
The gig economy.
The gig, is that what you
So
said?
like, so like musicians,
Oh, gotcha, gotcha,
dancers,
gotcha. Okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
Who don't like really have like employers who are like kind of like self-employed, I guess.
Yeah.
Like there's been a lot of stuff out about them during the pandemic because they haven't been really able to access those like benefits that other people have been able to access during the pandemic.
Those resources and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. So like it doesn't matter who you are as long as you have a collective voice. And like that, is that a dad cup?
Yeah. Yeah. I am by no means a dad. It was right out of the dishwasher. It was the first thing that I saw and I took it. So yeah, I was afraid you were probably going to notice that. But anyways.
Anyways, so basically like whoever you are, if you're collectively organizing, you can get your voice heard. And that's like definitely a way to politically participate. Yeah. And like you can lobby the government, you can join a party. If you really want to influence politics, you can join a party. So for example, the Liberal Party, and start volunteering with them. And during their, I guess before election time, there's amazing chances to participate because they're choosing candidates. And my boyfriend actually did like political calls for like, I guess like a certain candidate, where like he'd call and say, hey, like sign up to be part of this party and you can vote in this riding to make this person the Liberal candidate in this riding. So they kind of did this. Do you know who Sam Osterhoff is?
I do not know.
So I think he's the youngest he's the youngest MPP in government right now. I remember in politics class, my prof was like, oh, like he wasn't actually the candidate the party wanted, but they were able to get him in because so many people signed up to be part of the party to actually vote to influence the candidate race in that riding and put him in office as the candidate.
Oh, okay.
So
that's pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you have like a big enough group of people in that riding, like you can kind of override like the party's choice on who they want for the candidate. Override is a bad word for that, but like have more influence in who is representing you, I guess. Right.
Yeah. So telling about what you're saying, it really doesn't seem like there's much barriers to getting yourself involved. There's many different opportunities. Like you said, you can volunteer, and if you could find people with likewise opinions and views as you, then you could, like you said, influence and get your voice heard.
Exactly.
So that was great. So my next question is, so what are some of your goals that you hope to accomplish within the next 5 years?
I'm definitely hoping to finish my undergrad in the next 5 years. I have another year and a half to go, hopefully. Although I'm kind of sad because I made such a good group of friends and don't really know what's supposed to happen after that. And I definitely want to go to grad school for what's it called? A master's in policy. I kind of want to go into policy and maybe work for some nonprofits before I go into office, just so I can say like, hey, like I have this good background, like I'm legitimate, vote for me. And I also kind of want to go to grad school to get a master's in educational policy. So U of T has that program. Sorry, I'm getting super specific. Is this okay?
No, that's perfectly okay. At the end of the day, this is a podcast, as much detail and as possible. If you want to, ramble on and go on and talk about something else, that's totally sorry. Ramble on is kind of the wrong word, but there's no problem. Okay. Go ahead. Everybody wants to hear this. That's why I got you on. So don't be afraid to talk in detail and in depth.
Yeah. So kind of like a big goal of mine is to be the Minister of Education. I would love to be the Minister of Education for Ontario. And so that's kind of why I want to get into educational policy like more. So I kind of have that background and I am like, I guess, experienced for the job and have the knowledge to actually be able to do it properly, because currently they definitely do not have someone that has the background to do it properly in office. Leche. But yeah, and I'm hoping to get like obviously more involved in politics and my community, and hopefully do more community work and get my name out there and maybe run for other positions of leadership. Maybe municipal politics as like a counselor in the meantime, because it's actually not a full-time job, which is kind of hilarious because most people think it's a full-time job, but it's not. And sorry, I kind of raised my voice too much on that because my dad's vacuuming in the background.
Oh, well, audio is pretty good because I don't even hear it. So
okay, yeah. Perfect.
So my next question is, so you obviously have your goals and you're very set. You seem very focused. And did you know, like from high school, like this is maybe not the goal specifically, but did you know that this was the lane that you wanted to pursue? Because one common problem that I'm sure you probably know people that are in this position, like people our age don't really know what they want to do, and they just throw themselves into a program in university or college without actually like really understanding if it's something that they enjoy and if they're passionate about. Whereas you seem like you're very set and you're very focused. So when did you kind of know that this is like, I want to do this. This is the occupation and career that I want to pursue?
So hilariously, I actually wanted to do YouTube.
Oh, okay.
Because my like someone, they're not close to me, but I know them because they live in proximity to me, but they live in LA now, but they were like big on Vine.
Really?
Yeah. I'll tell you who they are later, but just for privacy reasons.
Yeah, no, I respect that. Yeah.
Yeah. So they were big on Vine. So I was like, like I want to do this too. So I kind of wanted to do YouTube. I actually had my own YouTube channel for a bit.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. and I wanted to do media production at Ryerson.
Oh, okay.
And then I took like kind of like to do like raise social justice issues like to the like forefront. I'm not like, I kind of wanted to do comedy videos anyways. And then I took a class in grade 12 law, and it kind of discussed like criminology and like politics and law and like Canadian politics. And that's kind of when I got interested in politics. I actually wanted to go to do criminology. Sorry, I'm talking about Ryerson a lot because first choice, it's close, whatever.
I'm even thinking about going to Ryerson, to be honest with you, after I'm done this program that I'm in right now. So either Ryerson or U of T. So one of those two. But anyways, continue. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Okay. So I wanted to go to Ryerson for crim, and then I went to the Ontario University Fair, OOF for short. I hate that name.
That's a funny acronym.
Yeah, I know. Oof. But I was talking to like, you know how they have like the booths and whatever. So I was talking like to the criminology like people like, and they didn't seem very passionate about like the program. And then I went to politics, and I was talking to like, because they send like students, and I was talking to the political girl, and at that point I decided I want to do this politics program instead of crim. So that's kind of how I got started in politics. That's kind of like, because I wanted to just kind of make a change, and I thought crim was the best idea to do that because I wanted to go to law school. I don't want to go to law school anymore.
I know somebody that's in law school, and they tell me it's incredibly.
Like, I don't want to do this.
Yeah. No, most people I know, like, they really wanted to do it, and once, I mean, anything worth doing is obviously difficult, but I've heard it's incredibly challenging and taxing. But I mean, I guess anything worth doing is. But sorry, you were saying.
So I kind of got like started in politics just because I went into that program and I kind of wanted to make a difference. And I'm glad I went to the Ontario University Fair. Otherwise, I would have gone to criminology.
So that's like, really important, because if you hadn't gone to that day, you might have gone in a completely different route.
Exactly.
So it's crazy how like just small little events can just change like the outcome of the next 4 or 5 years of your life. Yeah.
So that's kind of how that happened. And then I started getting involved more just because I was always involved in high school. I was the principal's like person, I guess. I don't know.
Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. But like I kind of always just wanted to get involved and like make a difference. And when I got to university, I kind of like met a good group of friends, and they kind of like showed me like how to get involved, since they were kind of already involved in like with political parties and different political things. Yeah, so that's kind of how I got my start into things. And I guess I would say like Model Parliament really helped me make more connections. It's kind of like a big networking event where you get like experience.
Oh, okay. I was gonna ask like, like what is that? But is that sort of similar to like the OOF thing, almost like a venue that you go to?
So Model Parliament is basically you're like emulating like Parliament basically. Oh, okay. So I got to go to Queen's Park, and I met a lot of people, and I had to be like part of like a political party. I was government party, Liberals. We formed government, and we basically had to come up like with a bill, and we had to do like a second reading for like the bill, where the other side, like the opposition, got to question us on the government bill, and we got to question the other side on their own bills and whatnot. And that was kind of just like a huge networking event, where I like met lots of people, and through them found new opportunities.
So it's almost like you're reenacting situations that you would find yourself in, like in Parliament.
Yeah, exactly.
That's actually really interesting. So next, I got a kind of a different question here, but do you feel that Hollywood does a good job in painting a realistic picture of the politics scene? Like, we have shows like House of Cards. It sort of seems like it has like a really dramatic approach, and then there's lots of other politic movies. But from the ones that you've seen and the ones that you know about, do you think that Hollywood portrays it in a realistic light?
I think some do and some don't. I didn't say this before, but I wanted to go into politics because I wanted to become a lawyer, because I watched Suits and what's that other show? Annalise Keating. Does that ring a bell to you?
No, but I watched the first couple episodes of Suits and I kind of fell off it, but I do want to or like reapproach it because I think it looks pretty interesting.
Yeah. So I kind of wanted to go to law school and then politics because of watching those shows. So, but I do think like those shows don't paint a realistic image at all. Like forget
Yeah.
about that.
I didn't think
But
so either. I wanted to know your input.
yeah.
Yeah.
Two things, like two movies that definitely come to mind when thinking of this question are On the Basis of Sex. So that's a biographical film about Ruth Bader Ginsburg. She's a Supreme Court justice in the United States. And it was about like the cases she was fighting for like women's equality and gender equality in the States, like in the 60s and 70s. And I thought that represented kind of like a real view of politics, just because it was very, I guess, like top down. The way you have to change things, you kind of have to go to the top and then
Right.
change things on the way down. And I kind of thought that, well, there's top down and ground up, but the top down approach I like to changing politics, how like she literally went to the Supreme Court to like argue a case on gender equality. And I thought that was a pretty good like view of politics and law. And especially of like the time being with like gender equality and whatnot. And the second one is Don't Look Up.
Yeah, I wanted to find a way to like talk about that. I was waiting for the opportunity. Okay. I finished it yesterday. That film was incredible.
Amazing.
It was incredible, but it also gave me like a real kind of existential crisis because because obviously it's obviously a film, but I feel like it's really scary how realistic that would be if we were in that position. Yeah. And I've heard a lot of people say the sort of asteroid coming to Earth is almost like a reference to climate change.
Yeah.
And I do see that. And I think it's very clever. And I know some people don't like when films, they say it's preachy almost, but I think it's important to have that message because I don't know if you feel the same, but I feel like it's incredibly realistic to how we as a society would act in that circumstance.
Oh yeah. Like I got sad after because I was like,
yeah.
This is realistic. And it was meant to call it like Leonardo DiCaprio kind of like spearheaded it, I think.
Yeah.
And it was meant to call attention to like how we are reacting to like global crises currently, like pandemic. Like you saw it in the movie, like they basically emulated like Trump supporters with the rallies, like how like, Meryl Streep had those rallies and she's like,
that's the first thing I thought of. I was like, Meryl Streep is essentially like the female version of Trump with just like the kind of negligence and like we'll just figure it out later. Yeah. And Jonah Hill was hilarious. Jonah Hill was just,
that was great.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Okay, this episode's gonna include spoilers, but I got so sad when she left him behind.
Yeah, I know. Like that's her kid. When I watched the trailer, I thought he was gonna be like the vice president or something. And then the movie's like, I'm sorry, mom.
Yeah.
But yeah, and that was hilarious when the guy, I guess like the Jeff Bezos of the film, the dude with like the white hair, he was like, Meryl Streep was asking like, how am I going to die? And then he's like, you're going to die from this creature. I forget the name. A Bront something. And then, they revisit Earth after, everyone went extinct and that's how she fucking dies. I thought that was funny.
Yeah.
But yeah, after watching that, I was like, just kind of scared. I was like, damn, like that's kind of scary how like realistic that would be. But yeah, thank you. I really wanted to sort of find the right opportunity to talk about that. So yeah, I already asked you what age. Now we're gonna move into a little bit of Indigenous discussion here. So how do you think? I talked about this with you with the questions. How do you think Canada can support reconciliation with the Indigenous community?
Yeah, so I actually took a course this semester on Indigenous governance. And I kind of learned so much from that course on like, I guess, like settler colonialism. And the first step would be obviously to dismantle settler colonialism. Do you know what that is?
No, I was gonna like, what is that exactly?
So colonialism is basically like when the English and French people come here and like, okay, that's a case. Canada is an example of settler colonialism. Something like, I guess, like India would be an example of like regular colonialism, where like people go there, like they went to go take spices and resources from their like the English people and French people and whatnot. But settler colonialism is basically when the people come over. So for example, the English and French came over to Canada, and they wanted to like establish a colony there and settle there. So they wanted to like establish like an extension of like Britain or France in Canada.
And is that how like all like the tragedy started? Like they showed up and
Yeah.
essentially kicked everyone out who had already been living there.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
Basically.
Gotcha.
And so any reconciliation would have to start with dismantling settler colonialism. And people think like it's a thing in the past with like residential schools and you know, the 60s scoop, but it's totally like still a thing today. I don't know, have you heard of Wet'suwet'en?
Who? Sorry?
Wet'suwet'en.
I have not, no.
So I think it's in what's it called?
Sorry, is that a person or is that a place? I don't want to sound
No,
like
sorry, it's a place. It's a place.
Oh, it's a place. Okay.
Indigenous
Gotcha.
community in,
Gotcha.
I think, Alberta or BC. And basically, the government wants to build a pipeline, and so the RCMP have. And so, sorry. So basically, what I learned from this class is that settlers have the ability to be on Canadian, like in Canada, only if they've signed treaties with Indigenous peoples.
Okay. So that way there's like at least some sort of common ground that can be met. Okay.
Yeah. So that land is unsurrendered because there's no treaty for it. So the Canadian government and people literally do not have the legitimate authority to be on that land. But basically what is happening is they've sent the RCMP in to fight Indigenous peoples who are trying to protect their land against development for like oil or, you know, like from development and being like clear cut and basically destroying the environment there. So things like that are still happening today. And so the first step to reconciliation would be definitely like trying to stop settler colonialism and adopting the calls to action in the Truth and Reconciliation report, because they literally came out, Indigenous peoples like wrote this document of calls to action that they want implemented, and the government has only like done like a few.
Yeah. Like I've seen some headlines, the government trying to make it seem like they've made substantial change, like we're providing this amount of money to funding and so on. But I feel like there is still lots of work that needs to be done to, you know, you're never going to forget what happened, but to sort of try and mend the wound or the damage that's been done to the Indigenous community. And I was doing some like a little bit of research before, and obviously there's a long list of tragedy and unfortunate things that happened to the Indigenous community. But I was reading something about the children that died at these schools and that were buried. And obviously we heard like last summer, there was like more information resurfacing about that. But where is it here? I saw something incredibly, let me see. So it said, now keep in mind, this is kind of like a little bit of an older report. So this number there's probably more cases that we know about, but and this information comes from a case study called Where Are the Children Buried by Dr. Scott Hamilton, Department of Anthropology at Lakehead University of Thunder Bay, Ontario. And he said, and I quote, over about 140 years of operation at over 150 Indian residential school locations, the TRC research indicates that at least 3,213 children are reported to have died. And this was back, I think this was in either 2015 or 2016. So that number is probably just substantially increased. And that right there just tells me like there's going to have to be so much more things done to help the Indigenous community for the terrible things that have been done to them.
For sure. So the numbers actually, I think, more than that now.
Because, that's what I figured. Yeah.
Over the summer, like unmarked graves, like those kids were killed. You don't like if that were like white kids. There'd be like outrage.
Yeah, absolutely. So, what's some advice? Unless you have anything else you want to say about that.
I don't think I do. But
Okay.
like what's happened is like literally a tragedy because
Yeah.
it's like genocide. It's literal genocide. Like
Oh,
people,
it's straight up genocide.
yeah, it's straight up genocide. Like it meets the UN like Declaration on Genocide.
Yeah.
It's called. Like it, I think it like meets all five of them. Like I did an essay on just looking at residential schools. Were residential schools an artifact of genocide? And we didn't like the essay didn't cover the because one of the conventions is stopping births within the group. So that wasn't happening in residential schools, but the other four were, and governments like Alberta, I think, were forcibly sterilizing Indigenous women, so stopping births was within a group in the 90s, and I think still are today, and like without their knowledge.
Yeah.
So what is happening is genocide.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
I completely agree. What's some advice you can give to someone who's interested in getting involved in the career path that you're sort of in right now?
Mm-hmm. Volunteer.
Volunteer. Yeah.
Biggest thing, because you meet so many people through it, and you're able to like, I guess, like develop a bigger network, and like definitely volunteer at organizations like and literally any organization. But you can also volunteer with a party. Like if you want to get into office, volunteer with a party. But if you like care about social justice as well, like you can work with other organizations as well, and like kind of like establish yourself in those like areas as like someone who does like good work in like a social justice field or whatnot, just through volunteering, and you can like expand your network greatly. And people who are in politics are kind of like always down to help like people who, I guess, like don't have as much connections as them. Like that's kind of how I like have gotten involved, like through my friends or through people I know, through people I've met networking. So I definitely say volunteer if you want to get involved in politics.
That's great advice. So we're going to move on to some pandemic stuff now, since it's obviously what's going on in the world, mostly. So what do you think has been the most challenging part of this pandemic, for you and, your family and just people that you know in general?
Definitely mental health. I think
Yeah,
everyone's mental health has gone to shit. Just because like
that's a
we're
universal.
sad. Yeah, it's universal. We can't do anything. Everyone's sad. Especially as a young person, it's like,
Mhm.
like you can't go out partying, you can't go like it sounds like something so like I guess like first world, but like you can't like you have these expectations for how like your 20s are gonna go, and like you can't really do that because we're in the middle of a pandemic. Like you can't travel, you can't go party, you can't go hang out with your friends because it's too dangerous. Like you can't go work in person, you can't go work at a job you like in person, and like properly meet people because we're all stuck inside. And especially now, like it's kind of bad. And I think a large part of the pandemic, I think this also goes into our next question, is the government's like inaction and like literally like absolutely like the worst, like how do I say this, like they have not enacted the policies that we need. We don't have sick days, right?
Yeah.
It's hard for people to get testing. Like there's no proper ventilation, and even when the government says they're going to go put proper ventilation in schools, like they don't. The only place I've seen proper ventilation is at my dentist office, where they have HEPA filters in each of the rooms.
Mhm.
So, yeah.
So a lot of promises aren't being met. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I know what you mean. Like, I don't think it's silly when you're referring to like going to the club, because we need that social interaction. Like it doesn't have to be the club, but for some people, like I like to do that. And that's how I met you and Sod. Well, sorry, not Sod, but yeah, that's how you were with Sod and I saw Sod, and that's how I met you. But we
Yeah.
need that social interaction. And I feel, and I've
Mhm.
talked about this before with other people, I feel like it could arguably be even worse for like kids that are just getting into high school or children,
Oh
right?
yeah.
'Cause that's how they're setting their foundation. Those building
Yeah.
blocks of going to kindergarten and going to elementary school. That's how
Mhm.
they make those memories. And they're sort of like, there's a period of time where they're at home on online school and then they're being thrown back into school. And it's kind of like, it's
It's
not,
so
yeah,
much, like it's so much to deal with.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, I guess you kind of did answer that second question there. So
Mhm.
what do you, if you could pick like one or two things that you miss, from before all this started in like 2019, what would you pick? What do you miss the most before all this?
Well, I grew up dancing, and so a big part of like that is obviously going to take class in person, and you cannot take class in person during a pandemic. Like I've also tried like new forms of dancing, and like especially ones that are like very like prone to injury, I guess, where it's like lots of like body movement, and like I
Right.
can't take class. I've injured my shoulder. Um, and like had I been able to go to like class and see people and like being able to dance, like I wouldn't have gotten injured. Like, I can't practice an art form I like because we're in a pandemic and I can't go take class. So
Yeah, I've seen like weird things where like stuff like that, they're doing it over Zoom calls. Like the instructor will be
yeah.
like, I mean, I guess for some people that may work, but for me personally, like that's not something that would work for me.
No.
I would need to, like you said, be in person. It's more intimate that way, and it's more
Mhm.
obviously enjoyable. You're around everybody. And with dancing, like you said, that's something I feel like you obviously need to do in person, especially if you're dancing in
Yeah.
like a group with other people. So yeah. Is there anything else, or is that probably like the one thing that you miss the most? I mean, there's tons of things we could probably go on for that alone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think political event, like I got a little bit of taste. Like I was just getting into politics as the pandemic was hitting, so I did get a taste of it. But like definitely like being able to go to political events. I did this thing last year, Daughters of the Vote, which is where sorry, um, you get to go to Parliament usually, and you like sit and like basically like you go to you yeah, it's people from all over, girls from all over the country, or like people who identify as women or LGBTQ plus people,
Right.
different genders who aren't men, get to go to Ottawa and like have a bunch of political workshops and work with like politicians and nonprofits and learn about stuff and go sit in Parliament and like present a speech or whatever. And so I had to do that online, and
Yikes.
it was so not good. I don't want
Yeah.
to. They tried their best, but I would have loved to have gone in person
Yeah.
and like taken a Via Rail train to Ottawa and gone to go stay in a hotel and meet people in person, because I could have had, I guess, like could have met people better that way, because I met everyone online and like I knew some people who were doing the program already, but like I found it like harder to like, I guess, establish connections. And I'd
Mhm.
probably say that that's one thing I'd miss.
Yeah, the whole online space is really like interesting because the college program that I'm in, I started it last year, obviously during the heat of all this. And it hasn't really felt like I've actually been in school because of that lack of social interaction. I've just been online, and I'll be honest, for the most part, I don't even go to class. I'll just be frank with you. Just because I'm really busy and whatnot. But even when I go, there's something that it feels off, as I'm sure you could probably relate
Yeah.
to. But yeah, I'm hearing there's like these hybrid classes, like, 2 days a week you show up or whatever, but I don't know. But with Omicron happening, I don't even know if that's going to be a possibility anymore.
Mhm.
So my next question is, what are some strategies you've incorporated into your daily life to help cope through this pandemic, from, a mental standpoint, obviously being one of the biggest ones.
Yeah. So my mental health has really suffered during this pandemic.
Oh, same here. Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
yeah, but like definitely just talking to friends, knowing
Mhm.
like everyone else is going through it. I've started working out again, so I'm finding that that's helping.
Yeah.
Um, I got like a month at the gym near my house, but I'm not
Yeah.
gonna go anymore because the cases are too high. Like it's way
Yeah.
too dangerous, and it's kind of hilarious because all the girls that I see using the gym keep their mask on the whole time, and all the men using the gym have them off the whole time.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I
So
haven't
like
I
I'm
haven't
not
been to a gym in a
going.
while. Yeah.
Yeah. But like definitely exercising and kind of just, I guess, like partying by myself. I got LED light. That's right, not LED lights. Oh my god, LEDs.
Yeah.
In my
I know
room.
what you mean. Yeah.
Yeah, blast some house music, jump around, you know, call some friends, be like, yeah,
Yeah. It's important to do that. Like, and actually, speaking of LED lights, I think I'm actually probably gonna order some on Amazon that like go to like behind my TV and they kind of glow
Oh
up
yeah.
to the whatever the theme of the movie is. Like if I'm watching, I don't know, Batman, for example, I'll put like blue LED lights or something. But anyways, but yeah, it's important, and exercise is the biggest one. Like even something as simple as like push-ups
Yeah.
or sit-ups, right? It's good for your physical.
Definitely getting outdoors as
Yeah,
well.
going for walks. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
The best.
Yeah, I've actually found like a newfound appreciation for going for walks, especially because I live in Pickering and I live pretty close to
Oh yeah, the places
yeah.
are so nice over there to go
Yeah,
for walks. You
yeah,
have
and I
the Rouge with the creek and whatnot.
yeah,
Gorgeous.
exactly. Going by the lake, the beach. That's always fun. I think that's gonna wrap up our pandemic questions. Yeah, I think we're getting towards the end here. I think we got so we got some lighthearted questions to sort of conclude the episode here. Have you ever been to a Raptors game?
I've been twice, and once was during coronavirus, like in I think September or October. I went with my friends. It was fun though, but the vibe was still there. It was kind of hilarious.
Yeah.
Even though people were like, you know, wearing masks.
Was there like, obviously it wasn't full capacity, but was there a lot of space between everybody, or?
Oh, actually it was at full capacity.
Oh, it was. Oh wow.
Yeah.
So then the vibe was really probably on.
Yeah.
A lot of people give me flack for this, but I've never I didn't grow up a Raptors fan. Like I still like watching them, but I'm not really like a fan of them. Like I went to a couple of games like when they were in the playoffs, like outside of the building, but I've never actually been to one. Yeah, it was so hyped. That was probably like one of the coolest. Despite me not being a fan, it was so cool to be a part of it. Just like everybody was crowded in the streets and literally like nobody could drive around. Yeah. That was fun, but I've never been to a game and I do want to go at some point. My next question, I gave you 50 grand and I give you 50 grand just to go travel. So where are you going? If I give you 50 grand, what are you doing with that money? Where are you going? What are the places you're going to go to?
So before you finish that question, stocks popped into my head.
Oh, actually, well, hey, you know what?
I don't want stock advice from me. I'm down $1,000.
I don't want to limit it to just travel. If I give you 50 grand, you do whatever you want. But if you were to use it on travel,
I'm going to Italy and I'm going to Europe and I'm gonna go see family in Italy. And I'm gonna go visit Portugal.
Yeah, honestly, like when I was younger, these tropical places, you know, they seem very enticing and they still are to this day. But I'll be honest, like if I had to pick between either going to like Jamaica right now or going to like Amsterdam or like somewhere in Europe, I would personally, for me, I think I'd rather go to somewhere in Europe just to experience like that rich culture. And there's obviously rich culture in places like Jamaica, but yeah, that would just be my pick. So favorite restaurant in Toronto?
So I have lots of allergies, so I'm gonna have to say the Keg because they're always good with allergies.
I love the Keg. I always get that what's that one appetizer? It's like the cheese and like the cheese and the two sauces and you like dip like crackers in it or
okay, yeah, like the focaccia. Oh, I love the Keg bread. The Keg bread's so good.
Yeah, no, it's delicious. The butter there too is like
the really whipped stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, actually, no, I have to say Casa Loma. I take that back.
I've never eaten there, and I really want to.
So good. What's it called? They lie about having allergies, so they give you the parsnip chips for your appetizer.
Okay.
And order the steak and the mash with asparagus.
Me and Evan are gonna try and go there sometime, and I'll remember that suggestion. So my next question: if Hollywood was making a biopic about your life, which actress would you want them to cast to play as you?
I don't know.
You don't know?
Maybe like
kind of a tough one, but
I'm gonna have to say Demi Lovato before they shave their head, just because they're Italian and they kind of look like me. I don't know.
It's a good pick.
The only reason.
She's a good actress. If you could pick one person to be your mentor as our last question here, who would it be? I don't know if you already have a mentor, but you know,
David Suzuki.
David Suzuki.
Yeah.
I haven't like heard about him in a while. Maybe I just
So
don't.
I think I would pick him as my mentor because the other day, so I'm like, also kind of got into politics because like I saw climate change as a big issue.
Right.
And the other day, David Suzuki was like kind of like almost like a call to action. It was about like the pipelines. I think it was about like Indigenous protest and whatnot, or like climate protests. And he was like, like if you're not gonna listen to them, we're gonna light those things on fire.
Yeah.
I was like, okay. I just thought it was kind of like badass of him to do that. So yeah, because like it is a big issue and no one cares. So, well, not that no one cares, but the government says they're doing stuff, but they're not doing anything.
Yeah. That sucks.
It's always how it is. Just like in the movie, Don't Look Up, how like they're like,
Yeah, I'm probably gonna rewatch that. That was actually really good. And it's got like a 30% on Rotten Tomatoes, which I don't know why. I think it's just because a lot of people are turned off by like the overall message.
How real it is. Yeah. But you should definitely do like a whole episode on it.
Yeah, I've been thinking about it. It's and Leo's everybody's performance is fantastic.
Yeah. Oh my God, it was amazing. I love how many people were in it too. It's like, wow, I love all these actors now.
Yeah. I think Chris Evans showed up.
Cameo.
Yeah, the cameos left and right were just like damn. Yeah. All right. Well, that's probably gonna cap the episode. Thank you so much, Mary, for giving your time and very different from what I've usually done. I've usually just talked about, fun stuff, movies, but I think it's important to have more important conversations like this. So thank you very much for sharing your time. So just to cap off here, why don't you tell our viewers, Mary, where they can find you on social media?
Yeah, so my Instagram handle is just my name, Mary Rose Amaral. So that's MaryRoseAmaral. And if you'd also connect with me on LinkedIn.
Cool. And I will see you on episode 16, everybody. 17, sorry.